is this feeling coursing through my veins right now? That could only mean one thing. Survivor is survivoring, and we've wrapped up another season of my favorite show on television. Survivor 45 is done. Some people already looking into the rear view as they gear up for Survivor 46, potentially me included. But I don't want to disrespect Survivor 45 because I think there is a lot to be excited about. 90-minute episodes might have just been the saving grace for Survivor, giving us more time for us to develop and enjoy this cast. And that tracks when I look back and think this was an incredible cast. I enjoyed nearly everybody on this cast to some degree, and that has to correlate to that extra 30 minutes we're given. And the production side of things worked really well for Survivor too. While we do still have some dumb tropes that stayed from past New Era seasons, we got so many other things that worked as a positive and improved on the season. Like the auction coming back, journeys being much better constructed, not much of a focus on advantages at all aside from a few instances, and so much more I'm going to get to in this video, where I can leave my watch of Survivor 45 feeling very positive about not just the season, but the future of Survivor. That was beginning to worry me a lot. I mean, I made a video midway through this season talking about my worries about the new era. I was scared we were going to go so far off the beating path, we would go into losing the game that we all know and love. But I think Survivor 45 changed that, and I think Survivor 45 saved that. However, this was not a perfect season of Survivor. Far from it, actually. 2 quits in the first 4 episodes, a middle game that really frustrated me, and I have some controversial and negative opinions about 2 of the biggest players on the season. While at points I love this season more than anything, other points I was contemplating why I watched this show. But that's the peaks and valleys of Survivor, baby. And if you want to experience that roller coaster with me, stick around. First of all, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. But let's get ready for my personal review from start to finish on Survivor 45. There's no better place to start a show than the premiere, and what a premiere it was. I should have known this was going to be a chaotic season when the barrage / the marooning gave us so many great moments just off the rip. I loved Brandon already crying in the first question he was asked. That's my super fan. Love you, Brandon. And of course, Emily clocking Bruce instantly for literally no reason is so real and was the moment I knew I was going to love Emily for the rest of the season. The Lulu losers start off exactly how you'd imagine a tribe called the Lulu losers. With Brandon's monsoon of a disaster in the challenge, couldn't even muster any ability to climb up the ladder out of the water, and was clearly suffering from some sort of a panic attack. Oh man, what a start for the main characters of the pre-merge. But I do love spreading the love, and the initial dynamics on each tribe are really interesting and really important, obviously, to the way this season is going to move forward in the pre-merge and beyond. Belo is probably the easiest one to break down. The women on Belo all connect pretty early on and are for real this time in making sure a women's alliance can stick together and not follow the trend of getting picked off early. Kendra and Katurah are instant standouts here, especially Kendra, who I will admit I was very wrong about before the season. To be fair, I was wrong about a lot of things, but we'll get to that in a second. She's a complete character. She gives a lot of Carolyn comparisons, but this is a lot more of a relatable Carolyn. Trust me, I love Carolyn, but Kendra fits into her own archetype and is absolutely a standout, and I'm excited to talk about her much later into this video. Lulu, of course, is the most chaotic tribe early on, because why wouldn't they be? Look at this cluster mess of a tribe. Brandon is completely out of commission. Hannah has not a clue what she's doing, raking some leaves because, I don't really have an answer for that. And then, of course, the start of Emily 1.0. This was the Emily that was the center of attention after this premiere, with people loving her, people hating her, and people calling her potentially racist. That was wild. Oh my god. That's a whole fiasco that I'm glad got cleared up pretty quickly, but I love Emily just in general. This initial Emily we were introduced to was so different from anybody we've seen on Survivor in such a long time, maybe ever. And I love things like that. I love seeing that 45 seasons in, we can get a unique person and personality on this show.
Seeing this Emily that truly didn't understand social cues or why people don't like how she's coming off, which makes her later storyline so much better for all involved. And Reba is the common medium. The chaos is Sifu. It's all Sifu, a whole mess, spying on people, running around camp, and of course getting caught by his tribe mates in the process, instantly becoming the easy outcast and target on the tribe. Meanwhile, Austin finds the Beware advantage, pretty much his only story this entire season, surrounded either advantages or a certain food item we'll get into eventually. But the immunity challenge was just an absolute ass whooping. Brandon took a beating, again, and Lulu lost immunity, pretty much cementing what tribe is going to be the loser tribe of the pre-merge, so strap in, baby. Emily is the obvious target because Emily is unable to be molded. She's like the square peg the tribe is trying to fit into the round hole. Luckily for Lulu, there are two other people who are square pegs in this instance. Brandon is clearly the other option by being one of the single worst challenge performers in Survivor history. Respectfully, of course. And that in itself is a complete mess for a tribe of 6. But let's throw a third hat into the ring because Miss Hannah is having a terrible time out here and clearly was not prepared for what Survivor was gonna bring. And basically doesn't even like being out there to start off with. So, yeah, half the tribe on Lulu is a complete liability. I'm sure this is gonna be a blast. This tribal did not disappoint. Emily and Brandon are pretty much fighting for their lives to survive. They know it's between the two of them. But oh my god, Hannah is here to make headlines, baby. Being very open about this game not being for her, she can't handle it, and then asked to be voted out and essentially quit the game. Oh my god, did the internet explode because of this moment. Hannah is gone, and that was that. And let me give my opinion on this whole entire situation. When this initially happened, watching this moment live, I was really disappointed. As someone who dreams of being on Survivor one day, seeing someone get on the show, clearly not the biggest fan, and clearly did next to zero preparation for the show, call it quits after 3 days, sucks. However, I never understood the uproar and hate that went Hannah's way. She did not steal anybody's spot on Survivor, okay? Nobody was robbed of an opportunity. They just did not get on the cast, and Hannah did. And I do empathize with Hannah in some way. She got on the show, did not enjoy it, knew she was not going to last physically, and bowed out before anybody else left in her place. Good for her. If anything, she kind of saved somebody like Emily going home first, who desperately wanted to be there. And I appreciate that Hannah didn't hold anything in just so she can make it another episode in the show. Hannah is probably going to be remembered negatively in Survivor history, but she'll always be my winner pick. Yeah, I know, don't judge me, okay? Clearly, I underestimated her inability to survive on an island, and so did she. Episode 2 steps up and gives us a few things here. Some big drama, a clearer dynamic on all 3 tribes, and financial analyst Emily Flippin. It's nice and neat, and will allow me to tell a story of this episode. First up, the drama. Sabiyah versus Emily is very real and very entertaining, continuing to push Emily as the outcast of the tribe. With the dynamics of On 3 Tribes, Reba, we have Austin, the idol guy, finally decoding that message from his Beware advantage, so he's one step closer to an idol. Meanwhile, the real main characters of Reba start emerging in Drew and Dee, getting really solid content that instantly jumped out to me. These two were players to look out for, the threats to win this thing from the Reba tribe. And in the meantime, they create a 4-person alliance with Dee, Julie, Drew, and Austin. They got Reba on lock. Bello's a little boring and a little quiet. There's a boys thing going on with Jake and Bruce, and a girls thing going on with Kendra and Katura, and then Brando and Kelly are kinda in the middle of that. Some king and queen shit dominating Bello, as they should. And of course, Lulu is gonna have the biggest mess because it's fucking Lulu. Everybody is off to the races on one big idol hunt, pretty much an anti-Emily idol hunt to prevent her from getting an idol so they can just easily vote her out. And oh man, Brandon finds the Beware advantage, which is Cool as fuck. I love that for Brandon as a super fan. But he immediately handed it over to Sabaya because he wants nothing to do with the Beware advantages. And I don't hate this from Brandon, actually. In retrospect, did it really matter? No. But having your vote on a tribe that, one, sucks at challenges, and two, is gonna dwindle fast might just be more important than potentially going for an idol in round 2. But we'll pause on that for now because we are finally introduced to Caleb here, who does a really smart thing. Emily's the obvious target to boot, but what good is it to just let a piece on the board go to waste so you can survive another round? Caleb wants to lend an olive branch to Emily, wanting to help her, boost her up, get her in a much better position on this tribe and moving forward in this game, like a teacher-student relationship. And I thought this was really cute and really fun to see as someone who was so deeply invested in Emily. And that's a really fun and likable duo because everybody loves Caleb. And Emily is finally turning the corner and starting to learn this game isn't emotionless. You need to connect to these people on a personal level to do anything in this game. There is also a journey, which we can't go a single season in the new era without at least one of these, but I actually enjoyed this one. Drew, Brandon, and Bruce all get chosen by their tribes to go, and they split up the blah 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 normal thing. Let's get to the actual thing. They're presented with a puzzle that you have 3 minutes to complete. If you win, you get an advantage. If you lose your vote, or you can just choose not to compete. Bruce opts out, which is the most Bruce thing I've ever seen, but Drew and Brandon both go for it. Drew wins and wins a safety without power, basically allowing you to bow out a tribal. Be safe, but not cast a vote. And poor Brandon, man. The guy who has sucked at every challenge up to this point has something in his wheelhouse here where it's not physical and loses the puzzle and now has lost his vote. This dude cannot catch a break, but it's kind of good TV, so I can't complain. One key factor to mention though is from Drew specifically. He comes back to his tribe and is very open about everything, which I think is an underrated move that works in the new era. These people aren't dumb. If you lie to their face and get caught, you're dead to rights. While being honest and open builds so much trust and makes you reliable to people. Now, I'm not saying tell everybody everything because that can get really annoying when you're trying to watch people strategize in a show. You want people to keep some information to themselves. But with key information like this, where you kind of don't have another option, it can make Drew very powerful and very safe in this tribe. And it instantly pays off because Austin sees Drew as trustworthy now, and they basically submit their duo together. And then Austin gets to tell him about the Beware advantage, so it's not a bad day at the office for Drew. Regardless, Lulu loses immunity once again. Brandon really bombed the puzzle, and now I can talk through the third part of this episode. Financial analyst Emily Flippin. The vote is simple. Either Brandon or Emily is going home, but Emily has to play catch up because of all her antics in the premiere. And with the help of Caleb, Emily is able to actually integrate herself into the tribe dynamics by connecting with Sabaya, Sean, and Brandon, making this a decision on whether to get rid of the challenge liability or a wild card that has gotten a lot better with time. Not bad odds, Emily. Not bad odds. And to increase her odds a little bit more before Tribal, Emily gave Sabaya her shot in the dark to prove she has trust in them, which is an underrated move as the shot in the dark is everybody's lifeline. And giving that to the opposition is like waving the white flag or waving a sign of trust that Emily has in this group. And right here, right now, Brandon's arc comes full circle. From not being able to climb the ladder in the premiere to being a ladder to help Sabaya grab the first part of her idol. But now she needs to burn this little wax candle she got to get her idol. But sorry for you though, because Lulu can't win shit and doesn't have Flint, so she's kind of still stuck without a vote. Tribal is standard things. The team lets Brandon go, hoping they can finally win something. Brandon was really awesome to watch for me. The single definition of a super fan. Wanted nothing more than to make it onto Survivor, and he did just that. Even if it went about as poorly as humanly possible, he still got that experience, and I hope he can treasure that forever in his little super fan heart, because I love that man. And he's great on Twitter too, so it's a win-win for me. The season up to this point has been pretty good, spreading around the screen time, and the cast is all fun and likable. But episode 3 is absolutely one of the best pre-merge episodes in the new era, and was when we all started looking around thinking this season could be one of the greats. And I'm excited to break it down. We always gotta start back on Lulu, and despite Emily not going home and getting her shot in the dark back, she's smelling something a little fishy. Based on the way Jeff read the votes, there were probably only 3 votes total, and somebody else must not have voted besides Brandon. But everyone's kinda keeping her out of the loop, indicating she's still on the bottom, despite surviving this vote here. There's so much going on here, let me divide this tribe by tribe, keep things nice and neat. And my day gets a little easier because Bello gets next to no content, so it's a Reba and Lulu type of day, with Reba focusing all around this majority alliance and this beware advantage. Drew and Austin are finally going to commit to finding this dang idol, and the clue tells them they have to dig by this tree thing. But Dee and Julie kind of catch Drew in the headlights digging, so he's fucked and has to come up with some BS that they saw Sifu digging over here and wanted to beat him to the idol. But Dee doesn't fully buy that story. And later on their idol hunt, Austin decides to tell the girls nearly everything, telling them he actually did find the beware advantage, but says he found it the night before and not on day 2 like he actually did. It's time for a group idol hunt now to get Austin his dang vote back. The girls find a fucking hammer buried in the ground, I guess, pass it off to the boys, and they finish off and find the idol. This was a fun scene, I'm not gonna lie. However, the idol kinda overtakes the spotlight of this idol hunt because this idol is a little bit different. It is only good for one tribal council, unless Austin sacrifices his vote, in which case it's good until the merge. If he sacrifices a second vote, it becomes a full idol until the final 5, the normal rules of an idol. I don't hate the idea, I just don't like how much Survivor is obsessed with making players lose their vote and lose their agency, and this feels really unnecessary. But I'm not fully opposed to the idea and the strategy that comes with it. It's time to break down Lulu, and there's a lot to get to. This is truly their episode. There is a reward challenge, yes, I'm talking about a reward challenge, because Lulu actually wins it. And I was so convinced this was the moment. They were going to turn this thing around. They were going to win everything, they were going to make it to the merge 4 strong, and they were going to do it. They even had the opportunity to do a camp raid, sending Caleb to raid the Reba camp. And also is able to give someone this advantage, I guess. It's the goodwill advantage. Basically, an advantage to cancel a lost vote. So if somebody loses their vote, you can use the goodwill advantage to claim your vote back. By the way, that is entirely stupid and not necessary that you have to have an advantage to cancel somebody losing their vote because of how much they make people lose their votes in this game. It's so dumb. Whatever. I'm gonna get my rant on. Just wait. He gave it to Drew, so now Drew and Austin can solve that idol situation, at least for one vote. That's not as important because back at camp, while Caleb is literally raiding the other tribe, Sabiyah is tossing around his name as the next person to go over Emily, which is bold, considering she currently does not have a vote at the moment. Also telling Emily about this idea to get Emily into the inner Lulu circle of her, Emily, and Sean. Hopefully none of that needs to happen because Lulu just won their first challenge, got rid of their liability, and are ready to roll 4 strong to the merge, baby. But we don't get nice things here. And as a blindside to me when I was watching, Lulu lost immunity in heartbreaking fashion. Not in as like a close challenge, but a complete blowout, and you can see in real time all of the wind getting taken out of their sails. And playing sad and down music over Reba and Bello winning immunity instead of the uplifting music we normally get is such a great idea, and added to this moment and made it one of my favorite scenes in the pre-merge of this season for sure. You gotta scramble though, and Sabiyah is actually going through with this Caleb plan. I honestly thought she was joking. However, there is another plan up Sabiyah's sleeve that is way more intriguing to me. Because she doesn't have fire to burn this damn candle to get her idol and vote back, she plans on literally dropping her candle in the middle of tribal, burn all the wax off, and claim her idol publicly in front of everybody. But in doing so, she has to come clean to Emily about the idol, or else it looks extremely shady that she just lied to her the entire time. The only issue, remember last episode, Emily is really close to Caleb, and it's off to the races, which got me jumping up and down off my couch watching Emily leak everything to Caleb, planning to vote out Sabiyah now. So now good old Caleb is in the swing vote and the power position on if he wants to vote himself out or not. And I can't exactly clown Caleb here for being skeptical about Emily's plan, because Sabiyah literally told him to his face that they were going to tell Emily the vote is Caleb. So for all he knows, this is just a plan and everybody is still going to vote out Emily. So I'm seated to watch Sabiyah roast an idol and Caleb decide if he's going to vote himself out of the game. And holy shit, this tribal is so much better than I could have ever imagined. Sabiyah is literally grilling her wax idol candle right there. Just pure comedy. It's you wouldn't believe it. 45 seasons later, I've never seen anybody like grill a piece of wax. And yet here we are. We are literally doing normal tribal things, and like in the corner, Sabiyah has like a stick and her candle and it's just dipping it in, pulling it out like a full-on barbecue. This is incredible. Oh my god. Eventually, the wax will melt and Sabiyah gets her idol and she is saved. But not so fast, because she's given the same dilemma Austin's idol had and sacrifices her vote to extend the length of her idol. And oh my god, it's happening. It's happening. Sabiyah is blindsided 2-1. One of the best blindsides and honestly episodes we've had in years. While losing Sabiyah does hurt, I'm going to pat myself on the back one time. I most definitely called it in my video I made about predicting Emily winning the season by episode 2. But regardless, Sabiyah was a star. One of the instant standouts by everybody in the first 2 episodes. Most people were super high on her moving forward as a potential winner, which is another reason that makes this blindside so much more memorable and epic. She's a great pre-merge character. I do hope she gets another chance to play again. I would love to see it. She plays hard, is very likable, and could be very dangerous in this game if not for this specific circumstance happening, taking her out. An amazing episode, and this season is giving me everything I've been missing from the new era of Survivor through 3 episodes. Survivor actually did a tribe swap? What? I never thought I'd see the day, but it's really refreshing to see, and especially in a world of 3 tribes, you need a tribe swap to shake things up. And it's a very unique tribe swap at that, because all 3 Lulu members end up on different tribes. 4 Rebas will end up on one tribe, 4 Bellos end up on one tribe, and the other 2 from each are on a 3rd tribe, with Austin, Drew, Kendra, and Brando being those 2 from each tribe on that mixed tribe there with Emily. There's not a ton of interesting things that happen initially, but one thing I can't stop down on and talk about right now is the Katurah versus Bruce feud. In the premiere, I think Katurah started off so strong with so much great content, getting to know a good bit about her, setting her up for probably a deep run and could potentially be a winner. Unfortunately for Katurah though, for 3 episodes in a row now, and many more afterwards, 99.9% of her content can boil down to talking, interacting with, or complaining about Bruce. One of the most insane one-sided Survivor rivalries I've ever seen. While it can be very funny and provide laugh-out-loud moments with Katurah hating on Bruce, if that is the only source of content Katurah is providing, and it absolutely was for a long time, I can get bored, or annoyed, both of which I was at points, and did not paint Katurah in a good light in my eyes. On to New Bello. Emily is thriving. She gets very good and very fun content, and is pretty much the swing vote between the 2 Rebas and 2 Bellos, with Austin and Drew being the first ones to come out to her, and they look like a strong trio here, so I just need to stop down and say, Emily, doing great. You'll love to see it. And I can get through Reba in one big swoop here because they do end up losing the immunity challenge, but Reba has the boring talks of staying strong and kicking out Sean at the very first opportunity, even looking through Sean's bag. However, Sean does create a strong bond with Jay, and she wants to keep him and take out Sifu, the wild card who talks in third person and goes around karate chopping trees or whatever. And when they lose the immunity challenge, Jay gets her way and convinces Dee and Julie to go through with this Sifu blindside. I do know how controversial this tribal that's coming up is, but I don't care what anybody says. I thought this tribal was a lot of fun. Getting right into it, Sean gets really emotional at tribal and out of nowhere says, "You know what? Vote me out, guys." Excuse me? What are you talking about? You're gonna quit? I'll get to Sean in a moment, but the best part is that despite Sean asking to go home, Dee is like, fuck that, let's vote for Sifu anyways, and that's actually kind of iconic. Especially when her voting confessional looks like it says shut the fuck up. But even with Dee pushing for Sifu to go, Julie and Jay vote out Sean, and Sean goes home with Sifu left wondering, oh my god, that is a mess. That is iconic. Despite the quit, I loved so much about what happened here. And yeah, 2 quits in 4 episodes. I know the alumni are going to hate that. And I don't like it in a game sense, but it made this tribal better and gave me much better TV. That does not excuse you, Sean, from some much deserved critiques real quick. This quit is 1,000 times worse to me than Hannah's quit, because there is no justified excuse for why Sean did this. No matter what he says to try and make himself feel better, he quit either because he got into a really emotional state, felt very vulnerable, and just wanted to be back home, or he quit because he thought he was going home and wanted to leave on quote-unquote his own terms. Both of which are awful excuses, especially because he says he regrets quitting in hindsight. It's a shame because I think Sean's story is really inspiring, and I'm so happy he's in a much better place now than what he was in his childhood, but when I'm watching this on the show, I'm not just going to brush past this quit that made no sense and will have his legacy in the season feel very forgettable and unnotable. The only thing that might be better than the Tribal Council was the tension after Tribal Council. It was everything, and I love a tense moment where the group target survives and it's just silence or awkwardness. But again, if I have to go tribe by tribe, there's some fun that happens here. New Lulu has Katurah getting caught looking for an idol, but Caleb does warn her about that and how she's being looked at by the other tribe, which is a massive overview on this tribe in general. Caleb is outnumbered 4-1, but Bello and this Bello group in particular just refuses to ever work together, and he's instantly become the power player and everybody wants to work with him and bring him in, so Caleb's chilling. Dee on Reba also gets some good content, but also is like mad that Sean quote-unquote blew up the game by saying he didn't vote for Sifu. Girl, why are you mad? What? That is your fault for voting for Sifu. I mean, I have no idea what is going on in her head for her playing sloppy to try and blame someone else. Lucky for her, Jay is not the smartest game player. Her plan in this whole thing is to take all of the blame for the Sifu vote to keep him focused on her as the decoy in case he has an idol? Are you okay in the head? If he has an idol and uses it, the decoy goes home. You numbnut. What are you talking about? That is incredibly stupid. At least I have new Bello because Emily is dominating and the battle of the nerds is on. Brando and Drew go from talking about Pokemon to Brando offering an alliance, only for Drew to immediately shut it down. I think that's hilarious. But bad on Drew because this is one of the many social blunders, to put it nicely, Drew will have throughout the season on anybody that isn't a Reba member or Emily. And Bello loses immunity, so I get to talk about them for the rest of the episode. Except, I do have to make a pit stop for a journey. A journey that was really fun and really frustrating. The journey is an easy choice. A sandwich for each of Jay, Kelly, and Austin, the 3 who went on the journey, or the amulet advantage from Survivor 42. Basically, a 3-way amulet that when brought together becomes an extra vote. If only 2 amulets remain, it becomes a steal vote, and if only 1 amulet remains, it becomes a full-fledged idol. And in general, I think the amulet is a fine concept, but a terrible thing to have. So the journey really just pissed me off in 3 different ways. I'm mad that this was brought back to begin with. I'm mad that Jay was so adamant on wanting the amulet. Like, why? What makes you think this is an advantage? Newsflash, it's not, and it paints a nice big target on your back. And 3, I'm really mad at Kelly for also breaking the tie and robbing Austin of his sandwich. Not specifically because Austin didn't get a sandwich, but just I don't think anybody willingly should want the amulet. It's stupid. It doesn't bond you. It makes you a target for the other people. I would never take the amulet if I had a chance. It's not a 3-way advantage. It's a massive disadvantage for 2 of the 3 members. Just stupid. And this will be the start of Austin's sandwich revenge arc, a really fun storyline that feels so justified because it made no sense for Jay or Kelly to go for the amulet. And he makes it his goal to get his revenge on these 2 women for taking away his precious sandwich. However, what isn't so good for Austin is what's going on back at camp because Drew is completely fumbling the bag. Brando offers Drew his shot in the dark so they can vote for Kendra over him. Drew declines and immediately snitches on Brando. But Brando pulls out the good old Uno reverse card and now makes Drew look like the liar and puts him in a shitty situation. Luckily though, Austin finally returns and is able to fix things over, telling Drew and Emily about the amulet to build trust and basically win Emily back on their side in this very crucial vote. And the vote is pretty standard and unfortunately pretty obvious. Austin uses the goodwill advantage so he can vote while still extending his idol until the merge, and Brando is voted out 3-2 over Drew. And I'm sad about this boot of Brando. If I'm being fully transparent, some loser commented on one of my videos after Sean went home, leaking the entire boot order of the season. Luckily, I did not see the entire list and I was able to delete the comment and watch the rest of the season unspoiled. But I did see Brando as the 5th boot, and that bummed me out. In the preseason, I had zero faith in Brando, and he didn't really bring much to the show, but I love that man. The little moments he had were hilarious. That's my type of humor, and he's so good on Twitter, like my favorite so far. Sorry, Brandon. So it's a real bummer to see him go. He's never gonna be brought back, but I did like seeing Brando on the season whenever we could see him. Also, shout out the Kendra Blindside face. It's a classic. It's the merge! Atori. Yeah, I'm still not a fan of this stupid twist, but this was an all-timer merge episode, so I can't complain that much. But I'm kind of a complainer on here. Deal with it. However, we first have to get to the Mergatory, and there's some shenanigans going on Lulu. Bruce finds the Beware advantage in a group idol hunt, but dude, the boat is here and you gotta go and find this idol or he is kind of screwed because he won't have a vote, maybe ever. And in a really funny scene with Jake putting on his Oscar winning performance, Bruce does end up finding the idol at the last minute. Hell yeah, Bruce. I'm proud of you. A lot of tribe stuff I'll pop off real quick. Austin continues his sandwich redemption arc. The Reva 4 want to actually target Jay. Emily and Caleb are reconnecting and my heart is full again. And Bruce is a pepperaya.
It's a pariah.
A pariah.
While being the only person who is seeing how dangerous Caleb truly is right now. Mergatory shit goes on, blah blah blah. You'll never get me to fully care about this. And half the tribe is vulnerable. The main ones to focus on are Emily, Caleb, and Jay. So with the winners of the challenge talking about who they want to vote out, Caleb's name is the hot new name on the chopping block. I swear to God, y'all better stay away from him. While on the loser side, we do have people like Dee and Jake pushing for Jay's name, which makes it pretty simple when everyone comes back together. Either Caleb or Jay is the vote. However, the piece of the puzzle that people fully haven't figured out yet is still Emily. And when the vote comfortably settles down onto Caleb, Emily warns him right before Tribal his name is the name, and Caleb gets to work, throwing away all of his bellow ties and trying to appease Tariba, even exposing that Bruce has an idol on that side. But it's really clear once we arrive to Tribal Council that Caleb is screwed. But he won't go down without a fight, going balls to the walls by publicly calling out Jay as the vote and throwing Dee and Julie's name out there just for the fun of it. Yeah, despite all the fight, Caleb is clearly going home. Austin sacrifices another vote for a full idol, and Caleb does play a shot in the dark, just for a shot at staying. Come on, man. That shit ain't happening.
I'm gonna buy a lotto ticket if this works. So, fingers crossed.
Caleb, you are. No! Safe.
Oh my god. Oh, no way. Oh, are you kidding me? This screenshot right here is literally engraved into my brain. Seeing 13 separate people's reactions to one of the most insane tribal council moments of all time. And watching this live is the reason I love Survivor. I was freaking out, jumping all over my house, watching this man get saved by pure RNG. And it helps that Caleb is so incredibly likable too. And vote after vote after vote after vote reveals to be Caleb to the very last vote. Meaning, we got no votes for anybody. And it's time to revote. Pandemonium ensues, and Jay is pushing for Emily really hard. You better fuck off messing with financial analyst Emily Flippin. No one touches my Lulus. And on the revote, Jay is voted out unanimously. And holy shit, what an episode. I unfortunately do not have a lot to talk about with Jay. She seems really cool and a lot of fun, but unfortunately on the show, she didn't bring much good TV, and when she was shown, wasn't the greatest player in the world. Being targeted and an outcast from her OG tribe before somebody like Sifu, not a great look, but this was an absolutely iconic episode. One of my favorite merge episodes in Survivor history, and really was when people were thinking the season could be an all-timer. Well, at least I was thinking that. We are living on such a high from that last episode going down in history on the Survivor Lexicon. So it's a real shame the very next episode encompasses a lot of what I dislike about the new era of Survivor. But I gotta break it down. Spoiler alert, this is the tribal split twist they've done every season of the new era, and I just dislike it. But this honestly could have been the worst offender. There's some important information I should break down because it leads to big events for the things that happened this episode. First of all, Bruce versus Katurah is still very real. And it's becoming less of a one-sided rivalry and more of a back and forth. And in general, Bruce is becoming more and more isolated from everyone, even his former Bellows. And Emily is also branching out in a different way. She's unfortunately branching away from Caleb's sinking ship in favor of Drew and Austin, which is sad because I love my Lulus, but a smart move for her game as Caleb casually was just kind of voted for by everybody. The split is dumb. The person voted out first will not make the jury, while the second person voted out will be the first member of the jury. I hate that so much. As time has gone on, I dislike this just more and more. It never seems to add drama aside from more than likely screwing over one or two people, which it certainly did here. So do we really care about what happens at immunity? Kelly and Dee win it for their respective groups, with Dee being the overall winner, so her group gets to go to tribal second, which also means I'll be talking about Kelly's group first. And it was kind of boring. The easy target is Bruce, right? Wrong. It shifts to poor Sifu for some reason. Like, what did my boy do? The only true suspense is whether they will shift the vote back to Bruce, and or will Bruce play his idol? Spoiler alert, neither of it happens, as Sifu is the boot. I'm probably in the minority here, but I really do enjoy Sifu on my screen. He didn't really get much screen time, and most of the time he did get was basically the show or the people making fun of him, but it was funny. He's an insane character. In no way in hell do I need Sifu to return, but he was a fun presence in this chaotic cast that I can kind of look on and laugh at, and laugh with. Love you, Sifu. The other group was tragic, but had more going on at least. The target is Caleb, because they want to rip my heart out of my chest. But hey, here comes Jake to save the day, and he is not down for an easy vote. And his plan is to grab Katurah and force a 3-3 split, and get Austin to flip on the revote to avoid going to rocks. And did these people just flash forward to tribal council? I've never done acid, but this, in my opinion, is like the Survivor version of doing acid, because I had no idea what the fuck was going on when I watched this, but I kind of liked it. I'll never complain about new creative techniques going on with the Survivor editors, so I think this was a good effort. The plan goes pretty well until they have to talk to Katurah about it. Caleb tells Katurah Bruce has the idol, but when Jake tells Katurah about the flip and the idol, he explains how everybody else knew about the idol except for her, which tells her one thing: she's at the bottom. So when we go to Tribal, putting our hope for a tie and chaos to ensue, Katura flips and Caleb is voted out. Unlike Sifu, I don't think it's a hot take to say that I loved Caleb and he was a massive fan favorite to the mass Survivor audience. One of the biggest locks to come back on our Eternity player season, aside from like Carolyn. And he had so many fun and great moments. Everybody loves an underdog, and he was the underdog personified. Due to reading into the edit from the very beginning, I knew he wasn't winning the game or anything, but it was still very fun to watch him. And I'm never going to forget that merge vote with the shot in the dark and 11 votes nullified. Unfortunately, though, I do think this boot here for him was pretty unceremonious and left me sad and disappointed that this is how we lose Caleb. One episode removed from one of the best moments of the new era ever. Episode 8 was a lot of fun to me, and from start to finish might just be my favorite episode of the season. And it's going to start with the women. They hold a 6-4 majority on the men and are throwing around the idea of an all-girls alliance. Unfortunately, we all know this song and dance and what's eventually going to come of this. But first, the Survivor auction is so back. I've already made a video talking about this auction, but I don't mind talking about it again because it was pretty fun to see this return after a long time, nearly a decade. From the mad scramble to actually get your money to Bruce just taking his sweet ass time and being really awful at the scavenger hunt.
Good job, run! Run!
And getting to the auction, it was a lot of good fun. No standout moments, if I'm being honest, but I wouldn't mind seeing the auction stay if we can get this new and improved version. The only issue I have is Survivor can't get out of its own way, and this dumb twist that the person with the most money left over at the end of the auction loses their vote just sucks. They just can't keep getting away with having players lose their vote. Survivor, you gotta stop this eventually. Just let there be a normal round of gameplay. I promise you, you're doing more harm than good. And Bruce, the guy who had the least amount of money going into the auction, leaves the auction with the most amount of money because he didn't have enough money, ironically enough, to buy anything. So he loses his vote. And because I'm already dreading talking about the next episode, speaking of losing votes, you guys get to watch Austin eat a fisheye because I'm mad. Back at camp, all hopes and dreams of an all-girl alliance is down the drain. After Emily reveals to Drew, there are talks about the all-girl alliance. So, womp womp, the dream is dead. But I still love you, Emily. However, a common target the whole tribe can agree on, whether you're a guy or a girl, is Brucey Boy. Cut to Immunity where we got...
You got it.
Nope, not that. I meant that Bruce won immunity. So it's time to scramble. The target shifts over to Jake, but to avoid a Caleb 2.0 to occur, they need a backup name. But nobody seems to be able to throw a name out there. That is, until Mr. Drew has a plan. Maybe Jake doesn't need to be the vote. Maybe they can turn this whole thing onto Kelly. But it's kind of thrown to the wayside because most people still want Jake out. But there's this little inkling. There's something that could happen going into Tribal Council. And Tribal was all Jake. Like, oops, all Jake. Jake was a lot of fun in this Tribal. Losing his train of thought and just fighting for his life because he knows he's going home. Ends up playing a shot in the dark and unfortunately missed. Couldn't pull Caleb. 1 vote down. 2 votes down, 3 votes down. Oh man, this is all but over, I'm afraid.
Kelly.
People are playing Survivor.
The second member of our jury, Kelly.
Whoa! Sorry. Whoa.
Oh fuck. Oh my god. These crazy people, they've done it. They did it again. We get a hashtag blindside for the ages, sending Kelly out the door. That was actually a blindside, a pure, genuine blindside, something we saw none of in Survivor 44 and maybe once in Survivor 43. Just an absolute masterclass of wonderful television and such an awesome vote out that was left super tense as Kelly genuinely was betrayed and hurt by this move. And that'll leave me to wrap up Kelly now. Kelly was very interesting on this season. In the preseason, there were so many people that were extremely high on her, including me. The easy chalk pick winner for a lot of people. Even while on the season, that kind of continued. To the point of the episode she was going home, a lot of people thought at this point she was winning the game, which is why this blindside was so magical. I do love Kelly. I love everything she stands for. A proud lesbian woman dominating this game for 7 episodes until her brutal demise that not many people saw coming. And while that stings seeing her go, I don't think there could have been a better way for her to go. As due to this moment, I will never forget about Kelly. Oh my God, thinking about it, I love this episode and I am loving this season so much. Why Survivor? Why are we not allowed 2 great episodes in a row? When it's all said and done, this just might be the worst episode in the whole season, at least from my viewing experience. I'm biased here. That's the whole reason I made this channel, okay? Let me have my feelings. And not to throw blame, but I'm throwing blame because Reba basically has all the power right here. And Bello has absolutely zero care or desire to work together, despite this vote right here being the last time that they have the numbers to do something. They would actually be up 5-4 if they can just get Emily. But you know what Survivor says to potential power shifts? Fuck you, it's time for everybody to lose their votes. They make the final 9 split into 3 groups of 3. Austin gives Julie one of his idols because she's in a group with Bruce and Kendra, but that won't be extremely important or anything later on. I'm sure of it. And it's a group immunity challenge in 3 stages. And the group that loses the first stage all lose their vote for tribal council. I'm sorry, what? What are you doing? Why do you think taking away 3 votes is good because it's funny? What? It's actually infuriating. Oh, but Beans, they have a chance to earn their vote back by going on a journey. A journey. I'm over the journeys, okay? I'm done with the journeys. I don't care about the journeys. Whatever. God damn, Bruce wins immunity and Emily, Katura, and Austin all lose their votes and go on the stupid journey. But I'm not done with you, Survivor. This journey is stupid because you have to do math, and nobody likes math, okay? But Austin likes math, apparently, the guy in the Reba Majority Alliance. And of course, he is the only person that gets his vote back, and Emily and Katura don't. So, surprise. There is now no possible way for anything to happen except for the Reba 4 to dictate who goes home, and basically, at the worst case scenario, have a 4-4 split. Congratulations, you just gave the game to the Rebas because of your twist, Survivor. And also, how are you going to make the final 9 one of the most infamous rounds in the entire game because so much can happen? How are you going to ruin the final 9 for us? How are you going to do that? What is not clicking in your brain? The final 9 is always an exciting vote, or at least it can be an exciting vote. But because of your twist and because you have to shove yourself in front of everything, there's no hope for an exciting vote, and the rest of the episode sucks. All because your cute little twist. Blah, blah, blah. Screw you, Survivor. While yes, I'm complaining a lot, I understand that even if nothing happens, this does not necessarily mean that a flip goes through and a Reba member is blindsided 5-4. I'm not even saying it's particularly likely to happen because I don't even know if Emily would be willing to flip. But what I am saying is that there's at least a chance, a percentage that's greater than 0. It's always possible if the numbers are there, where a percentage of 0 is never possible. And there is no fun in the new era with depriving people of their agency or their ability to play the game, nor for the TV audience. It's never been good TV, and I will continue to preach this until something happens and Survivor Production grows some brain cells. A goddamn snooze fest, because as they can't vote for Bruce, they decide either Kendra or Jake. And they vote out Kendra, which was entirely too predictable. And Kendra goes home. What are we doing, Survivor? Nasty, nasty, nasty work. Losing Kendra hurts, but it was way too predictable. She was a lot of fun to watch this season, and I'm glad she was a part of the cast to begin with, but in reality, I don't know a universe in which she wins the season, or even a universe where she was notable enough to come back to return, when the return field keeps getting more and more stacked by the season. But never change, Kendra. You were so great to my TV. I will give Survivor credit, though, for being able to still give us fun episodes and fun moments this late into the season, where a big problem for the new era has been the end not being that interesting, and this was everybody's time to shine, except for like the Reba people minus Drew. Starting with Bruce. Oh my god, Bruce is insane. Could you imagine if Bruce was actually a part of that already chaotic Tika tribe in Survivor 44? He was insane. His master plan here is to convince people he gave Kelly, his idol, the episode she went home in fear of knowledge is power, but it's all a lie because it is. I don't know why actually. He first tests it on Katurah only for her to be very annoyed with him afterwards. And then he uses Jake as his little rat, telling Jake in hopes that Jake will then leak this information to the Reba group. To finish off this debacle real quick, after Emily won reward, yes, girl boss icon queen, and took all the women on the reward, Katurah on one side tells all the women about Bruce's dumb plan, so nobody's gonna fall for it. And then when we switch to the guys, we get such an amazing montage of stereotypical guy shit, with them talking about farting and doing all this weird stuff. During this whole scene, Jake falls right into Bruce's trap, telling Drew about the idol thing. Only for like 2 minutes later, when the women come back, Emily tells Drew the truth, and all of Drew's happiness is gone. It really was a great segment, and I really enjoyed this part of the episode. The episode will continue to be great because I'm a sucker for drama. So when I saw we were getting ourselves some boy drama, I was here for it. After Emily tells Jake he's the backup target to Bruce, and Drew was one of the main names pushing for that, Jake pushes Drew's name. And Drew's not happy about it, giving us the Boston Mobster versus the Praying Mantis. I don't know, I don't have a better nickname for him. But come on, people fighting just because they're petty over something small makes the best fights. It's not icky, it's just people who are annoyed venting out their frustrations. It reminded me a lot of the Owen versus James fight in Survivor 43. 2 fights over literally nothing. 2 players in actually pretty similar spots on both seasons, just venting at each other, and it's so fucking funny.
Why me? I don't understand. Wait, so you don't care if I catch a stray bullet, but I gotta care if you do? Other people looking out for me. You are not a gift from God. Relax. Ours is? All right, mobster. Go have fun with it.
You're gonna like, this conversation is over. So I'm like, get out of here, dude. You're a goon.
Strategy time, and Bruce is finally dethroned of winning immunity as Austin beats him out, and things are really simple. Flush Bruce's idol, Jake is the backup, move forward to the final 7. However, Katurah and Emily, mainly Emily, have an idea. They're gonna go forward to Bruce about a new plan. Take out Julie. With the other side splitting, this is your last opportunity to go through with the plan to flip, and at least have some wiggle room by not handing the Reba for the majority at Final 7. Only this entire plan is a lie. And this fake plan is used to potentially by some miracle get Bruce to not play his idol at Tribal, thinking he has 4 votes going on Julie. And right before we do arrive at Tribal Council, I do want to talk about this move. Hindsight may not do this move justice, but from anybody who isn't a Reba member, why the hell wouldn't you actually do this? The perspective I had on the game was nobody really liked Bruce. I'll get to that too, because that makes me sad hearing that news, but what possible benefit does Bruce going out do for Emily, Katurah, or Jake? Jake is the one where he is the backup name, so if something goes wonky, he goes home, so I understand that somewhat. With Katurah, she's had a vendetta against him the entire season, but he's been trying to work with her, so to fully break free of this beef for no truly good reason is strange. But I do see more outs for Katurah moving forward if you do disconnect from Bruce. But Emily, what the hell is this? I love Emily, maybe more than anybody has ever loved Emily Flippin watching her on TV, and that will be very clear when I talk about next episode. But I do not understand this quote-unquote fake move. If you want Bruce out over Jake, sure, fine, makes sense, especially when Bruce has an idol. But why would you not go for Julie? Or anybody on Reba? If you're close to Austin and Drew and want to be with them, but your only true concern is where their loyalties lie, the best way to gain their loyalty, give them no other option. This blindside on Julie is a huge move at that point in the game. If you're talking about needing a resume point, make a move that builds on your resume without pushing yourself into the minority, because that's exactly what Emily did here. Cut your ties with Bruce, cut your ties with Julie, and by proxy, you're cutting your ties with Dee just by bringing up Julie's name as an option. And now you sit next episode with your entire game resting on Drew and Austin's shoulders. And despite Austin's being massive shoulders, that is not a reliable man by any circumstances, and just a really dumb move that I'm really sad was being made right before our eyes. Because Tribal is upon us. Everybody's talking about Bruce being the target. He has an idol. Bruce doesn't play the idol. And in a 4-3-1 split, Bruce is voted out with an idol in his pocket. And everybody else is so elated. And screw them, I love Bruce this season. A good player? Hell no. An average player? No ma'am. A bad player might not even be able to describe Bruce well enough, but as a television personality, I was so here for Bruce. Was given a second chance after not really even being given the first chance. Thank God they did, because he is a character. I would like to know why he was so disliked out there, because the laughing and cheers after he voted out was fine, but like, damn man, poor Bruce, like what the hell? I don't need Bruce for a third time if I'm being honest, I really don't. What more could we possibly get from Bruce that we didn't get here? Not a lot. But that won't change what he did this season, and he left his mark on Survivor 45 in a positive way for me. Despite my issues with episode 9 being stronger than anything that happens this episode 11 was probably the most checked out I've been watching a Survivor episode in quite a while. Mostly because, spoiler alert, I knew Emily was going home about 2 minutes into this episode, and that sucked to watch. Not only because I desperately wanted to look like a super genius for my Emily winning prediction I made after episode 2, but Emily was such a massive character this season. So experiencing the entire 90-minute episode not fully caring about what happens because the biggest character and star of the season is about to go home was not a fun viewing experience. How do I even talk about this episode? It's just dunking on Emily before she gets idled out oh so blatantly. Oh, I got it. I know what to talk about. This dumb little trope Survivor has done in the new era that they really need to stop doing. Kendra, Bruce, and Emily are the boots back to back to back, and they all have something in common. Kendra, during the Kelly boot episode, got an emotional segment with photos and the sad music, the whole 9 yards. She went home the very next episode. Bruce, during Kendra's boot episode, got his emotional segment with all the fixins. He went home the next episode. Emily, during Bruce's boot, got her emotional segment during the reward. She went home the next episode. Like clockwork. It's something that has happened most seasons of the new era where some of the merge boots in the middle will get personal content the episode before they go home. And it literally happened for 3 straight episodes. Survivor, be fucking for real right now. I know I'm not that intelligent, and if I could see this trend happening, if I could see this pattern that they're doing, you gotta switch it up. Come on now. That was dumb, and also added on to why I was 100% convinced Emily was obviously toast this episode. Anyways, Dee and Austin are like actually a thing, apparently. Leave it up to the hot people to do hot people things. It's such an eye roll. Sorry, I'm not really sorry. Nothing really matters this episode until Drew wins immunity and a plan is set out to break apart the Reba 4 by targeting Mama J. And this plan should work out perfectly as long as we don't got no rats in here, because Julie has Austin's idol, so they cannot tell Julie, and they absolutely, positively, without a doubt cannot tell Dee either. Yo, Austin, what are you doing?
There's a strong movement against her, against Julie.
Yo, Austin, what are you doing? Is this man serious right now? Oh my god, he just sealed Emily's fate. I don't even care about the rest. Dee tells Julie is ready to play her idol. Tosses out the idea of voting Austin just cuz, but she was never going to do that. Plays her idol, nullifies every single vote against her, and her lone vote for Emily sends Emily packing. I'm going to backtrack because let me start with the anger I have in my heart for Austin right here. What are you doing? Excuse me, sir, but I remember this being a game for $1 million, but you felt the obligation to tell Dee about this plan and then act shocked when, Julie plays the idol that you gave her. Actually atrocious gameplay that had zero upside to it. His rationale is that not telling Dee will make her mad at him. Ahem. Who gives a damn? Where else is she gonna go? Who else does she have if Julie is not here? Jake won't work with her, and you and Drew can control the fucking game. You have a free ticket to, at the bare minimum, Final Four, as a central figure to allow yourself to dictate who you want at the end of the game by being the swing vote. Jump 1 episode after this, your so-called ride or die that you couldn't possibly not tell about this move did the exact same thing that you didn't have the gumption to do and blindsided you and your number 1. Now you look like a complete idiot and your chances of winning the game shrink to a clean 0%. Congrats though, Austin. At least your heart feels good. I dislike people who do not play optimally, but I can excuse non-optimal gameplay for good TV or a move that will make good TV. But I cross the line when Austin plays not optimally and gives us terrible television. Too damn far, Austin. Too damn far. He seems like a great guy. That's not what I'm talking about, but a complete buffoon and single-handedly ruined this endgame for me because I was either entertained or impressed with everybody else in the final 7, except this guy.
If this doesn't work, I blame Austin and his stupid emotional heart.
Exactly, Katura. Exactly. Some of my anger can be justified to financial analysts Emily Flippin being taken out here, but I'm still justified in my own right, I swear. It's my opinion. But losing Emily hurts my soul. She has been the only person I can remember living and dying with episode to episode during my Survivor watches. I love Emily. I always loved Emily. And it helps that she is one of the most compelling stories in Survivor history. From unable to interact with her tribe without interjecting something that shouldn't have been said there, and literally arguing with someone before the game even started, to growing under Caleb's wing, learning and getting so much better at communicating and playing the social game, to setting sore during the merge and being in the driver's seat, and even making a move against that same person you argued with to get them out the game because of your social game with them. All until she willingly threw herself under the bus and was taken out by somebody else's stupidity. This was the season of Emily. I don't care what anybody says. Reba who? Don't care. It's a shame she'll probably never play again due to her not wanting to play again, because I love her so much. And my Emily Flippin winner prediction, you will always be famous. Rest in power, Queen. The penultimate episode was a little frustrating. Part of it was the stigma of losing Emily last episode, and also this episode was pretty predictable to watch, and I could see who was going home pretty early. But I will say it's a good episode specifically due to everybody not named Austin. And I'm not being bitter, I swear. Everybody was entertaining this episode except for Austin. Pissed Off Drew was so good this episode. So damn annoyed that Julie is still in this game. Wants nothing to do with her.
Get off me. Get off me. Like, I don't know. We're not friends right now.
Normalized players being mad moves didn't go through. I need more petty Survivor players in my life, and Drew is the epitome of that. And then later on with the reward when Austin purposely doesn't pick Drew so he can babysit Julie is hilarious. He's so mad. And then the helicopter flying right next to camp, and he just hates it. Oh my god, inject this Drew into my veins, please. Julie is next because Julie is also kind of petty. She knows she was just blindsided by everybody, so she can be annoying on purpose and become kind of like the rebellious kid instead of the mama now. And then when she's left off to be babysat, the scene where her and Jake go looking for the idol is literally a child being allowed to like eat extra candy or go out to an amusement park without the parents knowing. And I love that for Julie. It's great character moments and it makes her so much more memorable. Jake was in his own universe this episode, but I love this man. He finds the clue to the idol and then finds the idol and stuffs it in his underwear. And like, I'm not going to say anything, otherwise I'm going to be demonetized, but you know. You all know what I'm thinking, and I'm going to leave it at that. And his confessionals are gold. Talking about being a tree and laughing at him remembering a play he did back when he was in theater. Like, I love this man. What the fuck? Katura had a funny small moment, just one, but it was still good. Her third wheeling on the reward is so underrated. With this couple that like, no, I'm sorry. They can do whatever they want in the real world, but I do not even slightly give a shit about them on this island. Not even a little bit. And Katura is so me. And Dee can carry the strategy of this episode on her back because goddamn she did. She has been playing a near perfect game of Survivor. Nearly every single vote has gone her way except for that Sean quit thing, but that's not even fully her fault. She's dominated this game, and even though most of the tribe wants to blindside Drew this vote, Dee makes sure she can claim this move as hers. And a crazy discovery was made. Despite being very closely connected with Austin, he has an idol. So even if she wants to, she cannot tell Austin about the Drew blindside in fear that he will play the idol for Drew. AKA the exact same dilemma Austin was in last episode that I just ranted about for a couple minutes. But guess what? Dee is a fucking girl boss queen, icon, cutthroat, legend, and doesn't tell Austin. a crazy concept. Austin, you could learn a lot from Dee on how to actually be a good Survivor player. And not just that, she's an elite Survivor player. And of course, Austin can look like a double idiot, playing the idol on himself instead of Drew, and is now completely blindsided and looks like a fool because Dee knows how to play the game. Oh, I love Dee making these boys look like fools. It's a true gift after last episode. But I do want to wrap up Drew here because he is the one that goes home. Drew was a very controversial figure in the Survivor community, not because he did anything controversial himself, but he was either hated or loved for what he brought to the game. And as a trend with a lot of this cast, I'm in the love category. I love Drew. I understand he had a lot of GameBot confessionals like Carson did last season, and every tribal council he had to throw in some analogy in there because of course he did. And that was annoying. But everything else was TV gold. He was a good player who had an ego to him for sure. Got very cocky at times, and that got him to be a real hated figure by many. A villain, one might say. A rare sighting in modern Survivor. And villains need that glorious downfall. And they buried Drew this episode, taking shots on him every chance he got. So I think everyone can at least be very satisfied with Drew's arc. And he was a personal guilty pleasure of mine all season because I'm that type of petty too. We're kind of like kindred spirits in that regard. So Drew, a massive positive on this season. And I think he was a good kind of like final boss to get to the finale. The finale is here, and despite the outcome being very predictable, if you wrote everything down on paper, showed it to me, and was like, this is what's going to happen, I would have been like, oh, cool. That makes sense. But this was a really fun finale. At every single turn, it was able to take a basic thing that you could have seen coming and just add a little moment or 2 moments to make it memorable and iconic. And that was everything to me, and that's how you keep me entertained even if I know what is about to happen. So I'm really excited to actually break this all down. Post Drew blindside, Austin is distraught and doesn't know what to think. Yeah, no, I'm fucking with you. He instantly forgives Dee and still wants to go to the final 3 with her, despite her making him look like an actual buffoon last tribal. But Katurah is one who is not swooned by Dee and has her eyes set on breaking up this hot person's showmance. Get him, Katurah. We can skip the advantage hunt and immunity challenge, except for one thing. He did the thing. He did the Michelle thing. Oh my god, he kicked the puzzle. Austin, that was your one eat this entire post-merge, buddy. You better savor it. And at this point, I was ready to throw in the towel. This was obviously going to be a Julie vote out. Why do I have to sit here for 20 minutes pretending like anything else was about to happen? But oh my god, this cast decided to go full chaotic evil at the final hour. Plans going everywhere, so please bear with me on this. Katurah wants Dee out, but Julie wants to vote for Jake. Jake tells Austin about his idol. Austin tells Dee. Dee tells Julie. Jake tells Katurah about his idol. And now everybody knows about Jake's idol. Katurah, with this idol knowledge, can fully push for this Dee vote and makes Jake swear on his nana that he will vote for Dee to go. Dee and Austin discuss about either voting for Katurah or voting for Julie. But Dee can't write down Julie's name, so she's going to write Katurah's name while Austin is writing Julie's name. All while Jake over here just wants to make a damn move, man, and plays idol for Katurah, thinking he's probably not getting any votes. Are you with me? Yeah, I didn't think so, because I'm not even with me. What the fuck is about to happen right now? Into tribal, Jake plays his idol for Katurah.
Katurah does not count.
Yes, Jake.
Jake, 1 vote Jake.
No, Jake. 1 vote for Dee and 1 vote for Julie. And in a goddamn 2-1 to 1 plurality vote at the final 5, Julie is taken out after Katurah flipped her vote at tribal council from voting for Dee to voting for Julie out of self-preservation, and I am left realizing that everybody just played that vote extremely poorly, but it made for the best television. Let's start with Julie, the boot. I think this is pretty obvious. Despite being told that Jake had an idol, she was still content on voting for Jake regardless, and left with only 2 votes to her name, which could have been prevented by voting another way that wasn't fucking Jake. Austin is probably the one that does the least wrong here, but I still think the biggest issue is that he was truly the swing here. Whoever he voted for would have been the second vote for somebody, and that would have sent them home.
and he chose Julie out of everybody. And considering how close he was at Final Tribal to a win, a different voting outcome or a different opportunity taken here would have led to Austin potentially winning the $1 million. Dee, I think I have the biggest gripe with, despite the obvious person people are having a big gripe with this vote, because Dee played this final 5 round extremely poorly. The unwillingness to just let go of fucking Julie should have led her to getting sniped out of the game. Throwing a vote on Katurah knowing you are the only person voting for Katurah when you are a vulnerable name is actually delusional. And if it wasn't for circumstances outside of her own doing, she was gone. She walked into Tribal Council about to be the person going home in 5th place, but barely survived by pure luck. Jake wanted this flashy move so damn bad that he didn't tell a single soul that he was using his idol on Katurah. Not even Katurah. And as Katurah stated, the main reason she changed her vote from Dee to Julie was because she thought they were voting for her and she wanted to save herself. So if Jake had told Katurah about who he was playing his idol on, Katurah wouldn't have been worried and she would have just voted for Dee and Dee would be going home. And of course Katurah, the woman who had talked all episode about splitting up the showmans, only for at the last possible moment to throw that logic away and cast a vote for Julie to protect herself. Which, okay, I see the logic in trying to save yourself with the tie and potentially stay in the game, but I disagree with this move completely. Maybe this is harsh, but even if her intuition is right, Jake idols himself, they're all voting for her. She's throwing away the opportunity to split up the showmans and is 100% guaranteeing that both of them will reach Final Four. Newsflash, girly, means you just lost the game if they were both there. On the flip side, living in the reality we do live in, if she had voted for Dee, she would have been sitting at the Final Four, and I genuinely do believe she had the best chance of those 4 with Dee not in the picture of winning the entire damn game. Not to be harsh, but that was a $1 million game-losing vote switch from Katurah, and I feel really bad for her, but she can't blame anybody else but herself on this move.
You made me swear on Nana, dude. What the hell?
And Julie is the victim of the craziest Final 5 vote in Survivor history. I don't have a lot to say about Julie that I haven't already mentioned in this review. Glad she made it this far, but was too loyal and stupidly loyal for me to root for her success. And I'm curious to see how much of a jury threat she actually was postseason. But regardless, it was a fun run from Mama J. Post-Tribal was so much more fun than it should have been. Jake is mad that Katurah made him swear on his Nana, only for her to switch her vote, and Katurah is mad at Jake for not telling him that he was playing his idol on her. They were both right and wrong, but I still think most of this blame can be placed on Katurah, and she knows it, and she will find out very soon. Dee wins final immunity as Jake literally broke the challenge. Like, what the fuck? And we got a taste of Sassy Jeff again, so I will always appreciate Sassy Jeff. And poor fucking Jake, not a single good thing has happened to this man the entire game. It's actually insane. And he's just itching for a victory, even a moral victory. And he's going to get that opportunity by facing off against Katurah in firemaking, and absolutely mops the floor with her, winning his spot into the final 3 with Austin and Dee, and finally gets that good-hearted victory he's been itching for, and you can't not feel for the guy. He's been trying episode after episode, but finally gets it done. And Katurah gets some sweet, sweet karma to end her journey on this show right before the finish line. And Katurah is a weird figure on this season. As a person, as a confessionalist, I think she's amazing, and one of my favorites on this season, and it's not really close. But I think her edit paired with her questionable gameplay made me confused on how to really feel about her. She went from an amazing premiere episode to her entire storyline for 8 straight episodes become fully engulfed by her Bruce rivalry. And looking back on it, I don't think I enjoyed that rivalry nearly as much with hindsight. But after Bruce left, she came alive again and was my favorite character at the endgame, and even if that percentage of winning the game was very slim, she was still who I was rooting for despite it all. So, kind of like this season, a bit of ups and downs for Katurah, but I will be left with a positive image on her overall. And I hope she can find some peace after what I am sure was a jarring experience. And it's our final 3. I can luckily wrap this up pretty quick before I talk through the final 3 individually, but they do a new era version of Rites of Passage by talking through each jury member, and at Tribal, Dee is the shoo-in to win. But her final Tribal started off really,
really rough. She has an entire buffet to pick from to display her game to the jury, and she just decided to pick at like Austin's scraps to show her game instead, and I was sad. She cannot blow this at the final hour. But after some time and after some bickering back and forth with Austin and Dee, that was a lot of fun to me. We get the big mic drop moment of maybe the whole season, when Dee reveals to Austin in front of the entire journey that she did indeed tell Julie that the votes were on her and to play her idol, completely burying Austin of all of his momentum and agency, and was the moment I'm sure he realized he just lost the game. And when the votes come out, we didn't get a 7-1-0 vote. It's been over 3 years, but the curse is broken. Survivor 45 did that shit. And by a vote of 5-3-0, Dee is our winner of Survivor 45.
$1 million on that boy. I will personally fly to Miami and take it from you.
The after show was painfully mid, and I can wrap up this review by running through our final 3. Starting with Jake. Everybody was calling Owen the Charlie Brown of Survivor on 43, but Jake said hold my beer, cause goddamn, not a single thing could go this man's way to save his life. But he tried, round after round after round, after vote, just everything to no avail. But that won't ever shut down that Boston charm. He was an extremely likable figure on this season, and even if he wasn't winning, I was rooting for him on the way to get that move, get that resume point. Get something to go his way. It was an inspiring story, an incredible journey, and just to be at the final 3 is an honor I hope he's proud of, so congratulations, Jake. And like, he's a shoo-in for a return, right? Maybe. I'm not sure, but regardless, it was a fun ride on this season. I'm sure you all know how I feel about Austin, my least favorite type of player, and in no way deserved 3 votes there. I can excuse Drew. I mean, I can maybe excuse a second vote, but 3? Undeserved. He played well, played fine, well enough for a loser, which he is, and I'll never forget that. But I've exhausted myself talking about Austin, and I'm ready to move on to our winner, who I have a lot more to say on, and potentially some hot takes thrown in there. Dee is the best player of the new era, without a doubt, and I don't think it's close. Completely dominated this game. Her social game is one of the most elite we've ever seen. People were bending over backwards and destroying their own game instead of voting out Dee. Her power. I'll never deny how great of a player she is. Here comes the hot take. She's really boring. I'm sorry, but what the fuck? Her confessionals brought no life to me. What did she have going for her besides her big toe? Fuck if I know. And it might be extremely cold, but I didn't care for the repetition of her doing this for her family storyline. That sounds terrible, oh my god. But the first time she mentions her family and why she's doing it, that's sweet. Second time in the moment after winning immunity, sure. But every fucking time she won immunity, or even just random moments she talks about the American dream and her family, I'm hitting snooze and I'm going back to bed. As a TV character, she bored me, and I don't need to see her on a return. But my opinion doesn't really matter, so don't give me hate. Don't give her hate. She won $1 million and got a hot boyfriend out of it. I don't have much room to argue with that because I think she's a little boring. But I needed to say this. I've had this in my heart basically since the premiere. Basically since the preseason. If you watch my preseason review, she was the only person where I had like nothing to say on her because I think she's a little boring. So it sucks that the players who got first and second were 2 of my least favorite personality-wise, but oh well. Everything else that wasn't Austin or Dee related was batshit crazy, and I loved every second of it. That's a review. That's a season of Survivor. My favorite of the new era, and I don't think it's particularly close, but not without its flaws. Cheers to hoping Survivor 46 keeps that momentum chugging along. This was a long video to make, but also my favorite video to make. Contrary to popular belief, I enjoy talking about things I like more than I like talking about things I dislike. And this was a joy for me 80% of the season, so I give Survivor 45 2 big old thumbs up from me. The Bean stamp of approval. But that's gonna do it for me. If you enjoyed this video again, consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. I never expected to even get a fraction of the support I've gotten on these types of videos, and I want to continue to do this so much more. Hell, I got a video coming up next week talking about every single reality TV show I watched in 2023. And you do not want to miss that video. Stick around, If you made it to the end of this insanely long video, I love you. Platonically, of course. And I will undoubtedly see ya when I see ya. Bye-bye.